I deal a lot with empaths, HSP, neurodivergence, dealing with narcissist recovery. You get to the depth and the psychology of humanity, of being a woman, wow, it's for me, so refreshing.
Welcome to the Sigma Empath Podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about
how do we find that healthy balance?
Create the true juicy love they crave and want.
Wow, Natalia! Why there's so much disconnect and loneliness.
Higher level, a spiritual level, at soul level.
Is there a balance where the woman can play
but at the same time...
Welcome to the Sigma Empath Podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about finding love and healthy romance by attracting the right type of partner, being aware of relationship red and green flags. Our guest today is certified relationship and dating coach, Natalie HEART.
Natalia, welcome to the show. Let us know who you are and what you do.
Hi, Vital. Thank you so much for having me in your show. I feel so honored. I am Natalie HEART, a dating and relationship coach. I help women to reclaim their feminine energy and create the true juicy love they crave and want.
Juicy love. That's a great segue into my first question. Everybody's on the search for romance. I deal a lot with empaths, HSP, neurodivergence, dealing with narcissist recovery, but I've noticed, and I'm painting a very broad picture here, I noticed that there's a common recurring factor across all walks of life. Loneliness, people looking for love, looking for connection, looking for trust and the right partner. Is there, with your coaching practice and all the people that you deal with, are you noticing a common thread why there's so much disconnect and loneliness in general?
I believe the main disconnect is due to this new era that we are living, where we are so connected through internet, through our phones, through, we are super connected. It's so easy to connect with anybody we want all over the world. But at the same time, we are also in an era where everything is fast. So in order to create deep, quality relationships that really fulfill our souls, we need to take our time. It takes time. It takes time to cultivate those relationships. It takes time to get to know the other person. And we are not talking a week. We are talking longer than a week. It takes a long time.
Is that all based on, like you said, technology? Everything is fast and immediate. So is it a question of taking time to get to know the person, establishing trust, finding commonality, compatibility? Is it all these things?
Right. The beauty, I believe everything is good and bad. It depends how we use it. Everything has a payoff and everything has a pain. Yeah. So the fact that we are right now so connected, as I mentioned before, it's great. It's fantastic. I mean, we can spread our message all over the world. I can talk to my mom every day that is in Argentina. Well, right now she's here, but she lives in Argentina and I am in the United States. And, all that is beautiful. Now, what brings with it, social media included, which is another way to communicate, is the impression that we have so many options.
Too many options, maybe, sometimes.
Right. So right now, what I am seeing a lot is that with online dating, having so many online dating apps, when we have too many options, we kind of go into freeze or fly or freeze. We get into our coping mechanisms, into our survival mechanisms. So because we have so many options, we are all going to act in a different way, but if they are having issues, like my clients, if their issue is having troubles connecting with people at the deep level, at the soul level, it could be that their coping mechanisms are being triggered. So again, They are like, well, if it doesn't work with this guy or with this woman, I have 100 other ones. So they, again, it goes back to the fact that when it comes to relating, our modern society is making it as easy as it has ever been, and also as difficult as it has ever been.
So as an individual, I'm a victim. I'm prone to the very things that you're saying. We have access to so much. How do other people, anybody, how do we minimize this over selection, too many options? Because I agree with you. What's the immediate fix, if there is an immediate fix? What behavior do we need to change to narrow it down and find quality partners?
Well, that's a great question. And I will first say something that I just found out last week, and then I'm going to answer your question. Hinge, one of the dating apps, a week ago or two, they just released that they are going to put a limit on their app for how long you can keep somebody waiting for your message.
Wow.
And it's only a week. So if you contact somebody and then you have 10 other ones that you are nurturing and cultivating those relationships, that person, if you don't keep connecting with that person after a week, it just vanishes.
Yeah.
So you can see that the people that are in charge of the dating apps, they are being aware of this issue, and they are taking action and trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic solution. Yeah.
I think so too. I was so happy when I saw it. So, and then my answer will be, it all goes down to really, really being intentional with dating. The major issue I see with most of women and people dating out there, they really don't have an intention for dating. So they do it willy-nilly. They just swipe 1,000 of people and they message, but they really don't have a depth knowledge of what love is.
How would you define love, healthy love? What is that for you?
Well, that's a big question, because love has different meanings according to who you ask. If you ask for love to a guru or a priest or to, Buddha, they will tell you that love is all. That's it. Love is who we are. So there is a higher level, a spiritual level, a soul level. There is a physical level. If you ask what love is to a playboy, they'll say, oh, love is sex, it's juicy.
It's lust and desire, and yes.
So there are many, if you ask to the poet, they will say something totally different. The poet will say something like, oh, it's the everlasting connection, is gazing into her eyes and getting, lost in her gaze. I don't know. I'm not a poet, as you can tell. But,
I'm a poet. I'm a romantic. I'm also very spiritual. I encompass all those concepts. I think the Greeks have 7 different words for 7 different types of love. So I think you're spot on. You mentioned you were from Argentina. How long have you now been living in the United States?
22 years. I'm going on 23.
Is there a difference culturally as well in terms of how men approach romance, how men approach women, how women flirt with men to let them know I'm interested? Is it an international love language, or are there cultural nuances?
Oh my God, it's so cultural. That is such a great question. It's so cultural, and it's changing because of globalization. Things are changing. But I'm going to talk about traditionally, which, as I said, is not so cut and dry right now. But traditionally, the Latin culture, it's more matriarchal. Traditionally, the Western culture here in the United States, for example, is more patriarchal oriented. So how that affects relationships? Well, it affects them in a fundamental way, because neither or are perfect.
Yeah.
So we have to take the best of the patriarchal and the best of the matriarchal and put it together. So the next question is how they are different. The Latin culture is more, women are educated, giving high value to relatedness.
High value to relatedness.
So for us, and I have learned how to be the other way too over time, but how I was brought up, I always joke and said, I was brought up to be a housewife, because that's what they teach you, even if they're not as extreme as me, that they literally taught me how to sew, how to clean, all this stuff to take care of a house and a husband. It's more about sacrificing ourselves for the family. It's very family oriented. So women are more prone to be more submissive, more passive in a way, take more, because it's all about the relationship and
Yeah.
keeping those traditions going, taking care of the mama and the grandpa. And, it's all about that. That's what makes us feel good. And women, we have to feel good in order to do good.
When you say feel good, does that mean connecting with your sacred feminine, being within your
Right.
feminine energy? Is that kind of what that means? Feeling good
Right.
about yourself? Yeah.
Correct. You nailed it right there.
And so when it comes to the men, what's the perspective, the traditional perspective from
From
men
the
in Argentina?
Yes. Well, it's more, the men are more into being in their masculine energy, where it is more about doing and goal oriented and achieving, and they want to make sure that the family is well taken care of, but at that level of more physical stuff.
Yeah.
So they're more physical, they're more sexual, they're more, that doesn't mean that the patriarchal is not like that either, but it shows up differently in Latin America and Europe also. Some countries in Europe, it's the man shows up like the head of the family. He wears the pants, and he takes care of the family, and that is it. That's what makes a man successful. If he can take care of his family, if his kids have food on the table, and they don't really tap into the emotional side. It's the macho man,
Yeah.
it's the Latin lover that has a couple of women, and that's the stereotype in our cultures.
I'm not sure that that's particularly healthy in this modern society. And now you've opened up a window that I want to ask. Through my empathy and trying to understand, and I'm all for equality and diversity, and I'm pro-feminist, pro-gay rights, pro-black rights. I'm across the board. I think humanity. I'm a humanitarian humanist. But when it comes to this dynamic of feminine energy, masculine energy, how do we find that balance? Is there a balance where a woman is a woman, a man is a man, but it doesn't mean an imbalance in power struggle, in responsibility, in submissiveness? Is there a balance where the woman can play the feminine energy role and the man, without it being, you're the man and you're the macho man and I'm the woman and I'm going to stay home and cook? How do we find that healthy balance?
Yes, that is the biggest question. That is the biggest question, and that shows the other side. We talked about the matriarchal side, so then it's the patriarchal side, and that is the masculine energy. That is something that in the States, for example, is very, very big. Here, we are more oriented. Again, nothing is 100%. Okay, here we are generalizing, but this is a very deep conversation. A longer conversation, if you may say. So, generally speaking, in the United States, the culture is more patriarchal. So, how that shows up in relationships is that it's all about success. It's all about winning. It's all about what I have. That's how we find value. That's how we feel like we are worthy. And that it's a very, very masculine energy. So when you have a man and a woman, okay, gender side, men and women, that are both into the patriarchal system where they both want to be successful, they both want power, they're both logical, they're both, one plus one is two, and they both are trying to make a ton of money, and they're both trying to wear the pants in the relationship. What is going to happen, and that's what is happening right now, there is no attraction. There is no attraction, because for attraction to happen, there has to be, it's like I give the obvious example of magnets. For attraction to happen, it has to be like magnets, like the masculine energy attracts the feminine energy, and the feminine energy attracts the masculine energy. So that is the dance. And now I'm going to answer your question. How you balance that is, number one is being aware of this thing that is happening, and self-knowledge. For example, if I am a woman, like some of my clients, like CEOs, owner of companies, super strong women, single mothers sometimes, great women, fitness women. I work with a ton of fitness women, and all very successful women in the area of success as measured by society.
Yes.
And but then, so what the question I ask them is, and the very important word is primarily, because I don't want people coming to our throat, is primarily, do you want to feel respected in a relationship for your ideas, for your capacity of working, for your cleverness, for your logical mind, for your mind?
Yeah.
Or you want to be cherished for who you are as a woman?
Wow.
For your softness, for your warmth, for who you are, for your energy, for your beauty. And this doesn't mean that she has to be a 22 years old yogini, no.
Wow. That was a very deep answer.
1,000% of my clients tells me they prefer to be cherished. So that is the first step. Is figuring out what you want, because there is nothing wrong with a woman being in being in their masculine energy. But we need to clarify that, because if a woman wants to be respected and she wants to set the rules in the house, and she wants to be the one paying all the bills, and wants to be making all the decisions, and doing all the thinking, the critical thinking, she can do it. But she needs to know that and try to find a feminine energy man.
So going back to your magnet metaphor,
Right.
if you understand who you are, what your energy is, you look for the compatibility to complement that energy, that creates the harmony.
Right.
And I think right now what's happening is people are not quite sure of their identity. I also hear from a lot of men, now I'm going to sort of share the men's perspective. A lot of men have become afraid to approach women. And I hear a lot of women saying, what's wrong with men? Nobody approaches me anymore. And here's my ignorant masculine take, and this is not being controversial, I'm just being honest from what I hear from men. We're afraid to approach women because, one, there's the fear that if she doesn't like me, I'm a creep, I'm harassing her, I'll lose my job for sexual harassment. If I'm too polite, she's not going to respect me. I'm not a toxic person. Women reward toxic men. What does the good guy need to do to find the woman?
Well, I work with women, and so I help them with all that. I get them in a healthy place so they can actually recognize a healthy guy and give the guy a chance. And I'm not going to say that it's easy for them, because what you say is true sometimes. The dark triad. This is an exaggeration, but there are a lot of women that are attracted to what we call the dark triad, that is the narcissistic, the
Narcissist.
very,
Yes.
and psychopaths, or with those tendencies, because there is a spectrum
Do
in
you
that.
repeat the triad: the narcissist, the sociopath, and
Machiavellic,
yes, power, controlling,
right, right.
dominant.
Machiavelli was a Russian king or something like that, and very cunning, very manipulative. So so there is a way for them to do the work, and that's the work we do. We get them because why they are going that way, and this is me, talking in favor of women. It's not because we are crazy. It's just that we are also afraid, and we have also gone through a lot of things in our lives. So you have a bunch of women that are traumatized, that are hurting, that have pain, and they have been trying to numb it with either alcohol, clothing, going out, cars, traveling, food, whatever. And then you have a bunch of men that have been traumatized and they're doing the same. So the main thing is, starting to heal that. So I do that. Now, for the men, your question is what a man does when that happens, when he goes on a date and he doesn't know what to do. Well, the main thing I believe a man has to do is to, number one, know exactly what he wants and go deep. What character traits you want in your future wife?
Wow.
What
So
character
what would be some green flags for this man, but in general? What are some relationship green flags? What are some relationship red flags that way in the beginning, like, you know what? I'm going to go look at my 100 other options on Tinder and all the other social media options. What are the red flags? What are the green flags? Broad stroke here, we're generalizing.
if a guy it's not progressively, or if a woman is the same, if the person if the relating is not dating, the relating, we are making a verb out of the relationship, because you ask about love. To me, love is a verb. In this context of relationships, love is a verb. A relationship is a verb. It's something that you are relating. You are you, the guy is the guy, two completely sovereign entities with their own lives that come together to create a third entity that is a relationship. And that's what we nourish, that's what we cultivate, that's what we love and adore. It's not so much about the person. So if the relating keeps getting better, that is a green flag.
And so it goes back to what you said at the very beginning. Don't rush it. Take time to find that relatability, to find that commonality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is a pace in the relationship, and I didn't come up with this. I took it from a psychiatrist, and it works. I love it. And so the pace is as it follows. The theory is, and I believe in it, that it takes about 3 months. Could be a little bit more, could be a little bit less, because people get so fixated on times. That's why I'm so saying things, because people are like, okay, 3 months. Well, it's, let's be open-minded and think outside of the box. So around the 3 months mark is the point where we can have, if we have been seeing the person regularly, texting, talking, going out, seeing them in different situations, different environments with different people, maybe they met your friends, and then first you vet them, you see if you like them, then maybe you introduce your friends and see what they said, then maybe a cousin, a family member that knows you from a long time. So, if that goes well after 3 months, chances are that person is okay, it's good. Yeah. It takes about 3 months for any pathology to show up. And what do I mean by that?
So, for example, pathology that could be narcissist behavior, selfishness,
Right.
greed, deceit, lies, manipulation. It takes 3 months for that to start showing up.
It's about the time. Those, for example, talking about narcissistic people, they don't show you that they are narcissistic at the beginning. That's a very good example to prove my theory. They are very nice at the beginning. They show up a great face. But after a while, and it's about the 3-month mark, their true face is going to show.
Wow, that's a really powerful gauge.
Yes.
Yeah.
I went through that with my ex-husband. He was fine, Prince Charming, for about 2 months. And then
Love bombing. Was there love bombing? That's a very typical narcissist. I'm going to reel my prey in. Love bombing. They're perfect soulmates.
absolutely. Absolutely. And let's say you can meet somebody when they're on a high. They're on the high, but between about 3 months, they're going to go through the whole cycle.
Wow. That is so
powerful. So about 3 months. The pace of the relationship is considering that we should wait about 3 months to start to really invest in the person. And by investing, I mean being really, really in it. The first step that happens in those 3 months, you are getting to know the person. And some women a client last week, she was like, you were right, Natalia, because she was like, oh, I know him from work. And it doesn't matter if you know the person from work. Once you go from friends to dating, from acquaintances to dating, from coworkers to dating, you start the count from zero because it's a totally different relationship.
Yeah. What I love about you and your work, I love and admire and respect and honor is you walk the walk. You've been in a happy, healthy relationship for how long now?
16 years, going on 16 years.
16 years. And I would imagine that everything you learned from your previous ex where it failed, you learned, you did the studying, you did the research, you're implementing it, it's working, you know what you're talking about, you're getting the results.
Right.
Thank you for that, because a lot of people don't always align with their message, and it's very refreshing.
Oh, thank you.
On that note, I would imagine every relationship, no matter how beautiful, how romantic, there are challenges. And I'm not specifically focusing on you now. When trust has been broken, has been violated, I know it comes in different degrees. Is there a way back from a break of trust? For the empath, it's so hard. With a narcissist, it's impossible. I don't recommend it. But with other people in general, how do you come back from a break, a violation of trust?
Yes, as you said so wisely, there are different levels. I do believe it can be, in most cases, it can be fixed. We can repair. There is a Japanese, I like to use the Japanese, they have a
Bowls.
Yes.
The bowls, yes, they break. Yes.
So they take pieces of pottery that is broken, and they put it together, but instead of using just the same material that the artifact was made of, they use a mixture of gold and metal. So they make it stronger and they make it more valuable.
So how does that translate into relationships? When you say they use different materials to make it stronger, how would that work real time in real life with a relationship? How do we strengthen this relationship?
That's a great question. So first, you take the pieces and you make them smooth again. You just don't put it together like, oh, okay, taka, taka, taka. No, you take all the pieces, you look at it, and then you start to make them smooth with a file, and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You make it smooth. So you look at the pieces and you see what went wrong, and where that comes from. But if both parties are involved, So that's what you do. You start to do the work, and you do the healing work together. That doesn't mean that you both go to the same therapist or the same coach, but you both do the work, either separated, together, it doesn't matter. And then you start to recreate the new relationship, because the relationship as it was is dead.
Yeah.
That is something that some people don't understand, and it's very hard to do when you have been for 10 years with a guy and then you have to rebuild. Well, you have to rebuild from not from zero, because the pieces are there, but the glue that you are using, you have to make it better. You have to make it more valuable. That's where the gold comes in. So you
Now,
need to.
is this what you mean? I did my research on your website. You combine Western and Eastern philosophies to help people. Is this an example of how you're bringing in an Eastern philosophy into a Western world? Can you dig a little bit deeper as to what are some of the comparisons, the differences? Like in terms of medicine, I'm Eastern philosophy, prevention rather than cure. What are some differences other than what you've shared of how Eastern philosophy and Western philosophy can combine to create an impactful hybrid?
Right. So the reason why I love both, it's because I did start my journey over 30 years ago. When I was 14 years old, I went to university to be trained as a psychotherapist. I was trained under the school of Sigmund Freud. That was my thing.
Father, the godfather of the subconscious and dreams. Yes.
I know. I just loved him, and I went deep into that route, and I loved it. And then something happens in my life. And when I was 22, I got initiated by a guru, by an Eastern philosophy guru. And what I found out through having both and is, so I'll give you an example with a practical thing, because I think probably so I had an eating disorder. I suffered from an eating disorder from age 15 to age 24. Okay. And so when I was 19 and I was on the Western paradigm, I was going to university, studying psychology, I was studying Sigmund Freud and neurology and anthropology and all that stuff. I went to a doctor to help me with my eating disorder, and he gave me pills. And I took the pills, and the pills fixed the surface issue. So I'm not saying it was bad. It helped me tremendously, okay? It fixed it, it bypassed the problem.
Yeah.
That's what that did. Now, this is age 19. We move fast forward to age, and I did a lot of behavioral changes. Like I started exercising, hence the yoga. So then I discovered yoga and my guru, and I met my guru, Alejandro. And through that, I healed my inner image. I healed my self image. I realized that because of childhood trauma, that I was treated as an object growing up. I was loved if I was doing what my caregivers wanted me to do, and the moment they didn't need me, or I wasn't willing or able to perform as they wanted me to, they will beat me up, call me names, or ignore me. So I learned to treat myself as an object, that when I was making myself do what I wanted it to do, I was good. And when I couldn't, I was useless. So what Eastern philosophy helped me to do was to heal that self-image. So I fell in love with my liver. I fell in love with my stomach. I fell in love with my, with my intestines, with my heart, with my lungs. And
now, was it a conscious choice? I'm going to fall in love with my internal organs, or did it just organically happen that that's what you focused on?
No, it organically happened. Through starting to know more about myself, that organically happened. One day I was, sitting in a pose, I can't remember which one, and I was like, oh my God, I have a liver, and my liver is doing this and that for me. Wow, I'm going to start to take care of my liver. I am alive because of my kidneys.
So you
Before there was a
became
disconnect. I was disconnected. My body was an object, and there was this self that was me that was completely unconscious. That was just so. I put them together. So that is the same thing with relationships. We get into relationships without just by osmosis because we're supposed to. Nobody ever taught us what a relationship. My clients, so when the first few sessions, when we come up to really what they want and figure out what love is for them, to do the deep questions, they're like, well, I want to support the guy and I want to be supported. That never fails. And they have no clue how to support a guy.
Wow.
They
So
will
through
try to
yourself,
come and bleed before they tell a guy, oh my God, you are so strong, your muscles look so good. Because God forbid, they say something like that to a guy. What is he gonna think about them? That they're weak, that they're. And that's one of the ways we support our husband, is admiring his masculinity.
yes.
Where else is he gonna get that? If we don't give it to them, a mistress is gonna give it to them. That's what he's
I think that's a part of the struggle for men is we feel undervalued. We
Yeah.
are only viewed as traditionally as financial providers. We're always competing with the guy with the bigger Mercedes, the bigger wallet, rather than trying to value the essence of the human. But I want to go back to something you touched in closing. This has been a incredible podcast. I'm learning so much from you.
Oh, thank you. You are a great guy.
You raised the point. You became acutely self-aware. You did the internal work. Oftentimes, people are looking for the right partner. You became the right woman,
Right.
which then
That
attracted the
came later,
partner.
though. But yes, eventually I did find her.
Is focusing on the self, becoming the right person, a person of value. Is that ultimately the key to attracting the right person? You've got to become the right person yourself. Or am I over romanticizing this?
You have to. Some women, naturally they got the right upbringing. They get it naturally. Like everything. Some people are great at dancing just naturally. Some people are great at relationships just naturally. But for the rest of us, we do have to do some intentional work and become the one. We don't live the world from the outside in. We live the world from the inside out.
I think that sums it all up on so many levels. Natalia, what a joy. What a pleasure. I know your coaching practice is highly successful. I know you transform lives. How can people find you? I will drop all the information in the captions, but what's the easiest way for people to find you? YouTube, Instagram, website?
My website is the best place, www.nataliaheartcoaching.com. Vital, you're going to put it there. That's where everything is, links to everything. You can book a call, everything is there. It's the easiest. A free masterclass, you can get a free gift there, everything is there.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a joy. Thank you for sharing your expertise and continued success. And say hi to your beautiful husband.
Thank you. Thank you, Vital. You're brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you.